Good morning, everyone. This, the Wednesday, April 19th, 2023 meeting of the Nags Board of Commissioners is hereby called to order. This is a recessed meeting, so we will not have the pledge this morning or the time of silence. The first item on our agenda is the adoption of the agenda, and a motion would be in order.
So moved.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. The next item on our agenda is public comment, and I will turn it over to our guest attorney this morning, Mr. Robert Hobbs.
Thank you, Mayor. This time we'll open the floor for public comments. If I would like to speak, if you'll please come forward, state your name and address, keep your comments to 5 minutes, and keep in mind this is not a dialogue with the board, and the board is not required to respond to any public comments.
If you also, could you mention the public hearing as well?
Oh, sure. Thank you. There is a public hearing coming up later in the agenda, and so any comments on that public hearing should be held until that takes place. Okay, seeing no public comments, then we'll close public comments.
All right, thank you. That brings us to the consent agenda, which is pretty light for this mid-month meeting. There are only 3 items there. A motion would be in order.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. That brings us to a public hearing this morning, and I will turn this back over to Mr. Hobbs and the town manager.
Thank you, Mayor. At this time, we will open a public hearing to consider an ordinance directing the town manager, building inspector, or other appropriate staff to take action pursuant to North Carolina General Statutes 160D-1125 as necessary to abate the defective, hazardous, and dangerous conditions of the structure located at 10211 East Seagull Drive, including but not limited to action to remove or demolish the structure, and further directing the placement of a notice thereon that the same may not be occupied. At this time, we will open the public hearing. As I indicated, during this hearing, the board will sit as a legislative body. Who will make a presentation? Okay, so Mr. Garman will make a presentation on behalf of the town staff.
Thank you. So this is obviously regarding a structure located at 10211 East Seagull Drive in South Nags Head. This is an issue we've been dealing with for several years now. This sort of came to a head last year in the spring when we had a storm during the second week of May, which resulted in unsafe conditions related to this structure. At that time, staff noticed a deck on the east side of the house that had become detached and was at risk of collapse, in addition to several other persistent issues. The building inspector, Corey Tate, at the time, conducted an initial inspection and also solicited the assistance of an independent structural engineer to evaluate the structure. Both the building inspector and the engineer were in agreement that the structure was unsafe and especially dangerous to life. On June 3rd, the inspector condemned the structure and issued a letter notifying the owner that the structure was unsafe in accordance with North Carolina General Statutes 160D-1119, based on his findings as well as the findings of the engineer. The owner was notified that a hearing would be conducted on June 10th in accordance with the procedures of 160D-1121. At the request of the owner, the hearing date was rescheduled to June 17th. On June 17th, we held the hearing here in this room with the building inspector, myself, the planning director, as well as several representatives of the owner and the owner. During the hearing, the owner was not able to present any evidence that the building inspector's findings were inaccurate. Following the hearing, in accordance with North Carolina General Statutes 160D-1122, the inspector issued an order to the owner requiring corrective action within 90 days. The owner was given a 10-day period of time to appeal that order. No appeal was filed during that time. The order was issued on June 23rd, and the deadline for corrective action was September 23rd. At the end of the 90-day time frame, the condition of the structure deteriorated and the actions required by the order were not completed. Subsequent to the deadline on September 23rd, the owner's attorney filed a claim that took several months to be resolved. This has been resolved just a few weeks ago. So in accordance with North Carolina General Statutes 160D-1125, we would request that the board take appropriate action to enforce the order. So therefore, we have prepared an ordinance for your consideration today, which directs town staff to take actions to abate the nuisance. This summarizes much of what I have just stated. In your packet, we've also included the order, as well as the letter issued by the inspector on June 3rd, and also the engineer's report, which the inspector used to substantiate his findings. So essentially, that is our presentation. We are working to procure estimates to have the structure removed. You have the ordinance in front of you, and I'm happy to answer any questions about this.
Before we get to questions, I just want to thank staff for all the work they've done on this, and to our attorneys for the work that they've done on this, and it's been a long time coming. Commissioner Cahoon, any questions? Commissioner Brinkley?
No,
Okay.
no, Mayor.
I see no questions, Robert.
Okay, thank you. At this time, we will, if there are any members of the public who wish to address this proposal, please come forward and make your presentation at this time, and please state your name and address.
Good morning, folks. My name is Ellen Heatwall. I'm at 101 East Eagle, and I want to jump up and down and applaud to say that this has been over a decade in the making, and of course, I support the ordinance to take the structure down because it's coming down piece by piece and going in the ocean anyway. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comments? Okay, seeing none, then any final questions or comments from the board or from Mr. Garman? Okay, thank you. Then we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. At this time, the board will now deliberate on the proposed ordinance, which Mr. Garman said is, as indicated, is in your packet. There will need to be 4 votes in favor to adopt the ordinance on the first reading. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So that we can do this in proper order, how about a motion first and then discussion?
I'd like to make a motion that we adopt an ordinance directing the town manager, building inspector, other appropriate staff to take action pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 160D-1125 as necessary to abate the defective, hazardous, and dangerous conditions of the structure, including but not limited to action to remove or demolish the structure, and further directing placement of notice that it not be occupied.
All right, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Mr. Sanders?
No, sir.
Anything? Commissioner Brinkley?
Sir.
Commissioner Cahoon?
Only a statement that this is an action of last resort in order to preserve the health and safety and welfare of people traversing our beaches, that they not be hurt and our ocean rescue not be possibly hurt or impeded in their travels.
Yep. Environmental damages as well. So, yes. All right, we have a motion and a second. I hear no further discussion. So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
That brings us to items referred to and presentations from the town attorney. Mr. Hobbs, anything this morning?
Mr. Mayor, no report this morning.
Okay, all right. Items referred to and presentations from the town manager, Mr. Gorman.
I don't have anything else other than the workshop.
All right. Do any of the commissioners have anything they wish to address this morning? And I do not. We have no matters for closed session this morning. And so that brings us to other business. Here, no other business, which would bring us to a recess to the budget workshop. And if we're ready to do that, a motion would be in order.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to recess to the budget workshop. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. The board will be in recess.